All right, welcome back to Fleckus Talks, the podcast, episode 187. Today on the show, a new George Floyd almost dropped. We're going to go over the body cam footage they tried to hide from you. Then, MrBeast is under fire after his transgender co-host was being inappropriate with minors. Who could have guessed it? Then, the third world migrants are not mixing well with the Olympics in Paris. We'll tell you what's going on there. And last but not least, we have a Kamala Harris expose that covers everything from her grassroots come-up that wasn't real, the media lies, and her fraudulent ghost donors. All this and more is Fleckus Talks, the podcast, episode 187, ranked the best new podcast of all time.
Because words are just words until action actually starts. And actions speak louder than words. But at the same time, words speak louder than actions because sometimes it's the right thing to do. Very cool. Very cool.
It's Fleckus Talks, the podcast, featuring Richard Grabwood.
All right, one for one on the intro, as always. Guys, what if I told you you had a chance to win a Jeep Gladiator plus $30,000 in cash, and all you need to do is buy something you already need that'll make your life a lot more comfortable? Our friends over at Undertack, the makers of the world's most comfortable boxers, socks, and shirts, have partnered with Shared Sweeps to give you a chance to win a fully loaded Jeep Gladiator plus $30,000 in cash. All you need to do is go to undertack.com, and for every dollar you spend using code FLECKUSWIN, all one word, you'll get one entry plus 10% off your purchase. So the more you fill your drawers with Undertack's boxers made with modal, which dominates cotton, their battle weave wool socks, dangerously comfortable EDC shirts, or anything else on the site, you increase your chances of winning. This goes for the ladies too, because now they offer women's underwear shorts. Go to undertack.com, that's undertac.com, and make sure you use code FLECKUSWIN to get one entry per dollar spent and 10% off. It's undertac.com. It's linked in the description. Go there now and see the site for more details. Let's get into housekeeping. All right, thank you to Undertack for sponsoring.
Thank you, Undertack.
The potential to win a Jeep Gladiator, that's pretty cool.
I'm getting in on that myself.
Yeah, I'm going to go as well and use that code. All right, we have a very packed show. Packed housekeeping. Is it Friday?
Yes.
It is Friday, so nothing's going to be different. But we do have a very packed housekeeping. First things first, maybe the most important story that's come across my desk ever.
Yeah.
It's sad stuff, but we are going to bounce back, and we actually have to do a little warning for the viewers at home. This is some sensitive material. The Oscar Mayer Wiener truck was flipped over in an accident outside of Chicago.
Wiener mobile down on the highway. That's sad. Incredibly sad.
Never thought I'd see this day.
Yeah. Some light blurring or no? Not necessary?
Not necessary. We gave the warning. Thanks, Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joe Biden.
That was his last act.
Yeah. Let's just do a quick moment of silence for the hot dog wiener mobile. All right. Let's get into the main show.
Okay.
Let's get into the action. First things first, before we get political, Harley Davidson is now gay.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
There's a new video from Robbie Starbuck, who's done a great job exposing all these companies we thought were right-wing who are actually LGBT, and listen to what he said about them.
Well, this may be the most shocking expose that I've done simply because the brand is so out of alignment with their customers. This is Harley Davidson. It's time for them to be exposed. In Harley's words, they are all in on diversity and inclusion. Now, let's take a look at what that means. I wonder how many Harley riders are aware that Harley Davidson is a platinum founding member of the LGBT Chamber of Commerce in Wisconsin. This is the same chamber that says on behalf of the businesses that are a part of the Wisconsin LGBT Chamber, they opposed banning transgender sex changes for children. Harley Davidson even hosted an LGBTQ plus boot camp at their corporate offices, and look at that sweet cake they got them. Isn't that just so inclusive? Here's a closer look at that cake for all you Harley riders out there. So who's Harley Davidson?
Ah,
Yeah.
that doesn't look good.
Yeah, not on brand for Harley. And Robbie Starbuck, he's been the one who exposed John Deere, Tractor Supply, now Harley. He's looking for only high-level right-wing scalps, which I respect. It's you don't carpet bomb the area, you do targeted airstrikes.
Yep.
And these are companies that you've gotten so far away from, like, who's my core audience? Who are my core customers? And you're just on some gay cake shit.
On some gay cake shit. And we actually have a list of their reverse accomplishments.
Yeah, funded an all-ages pride event that featured a rage room next to drag queen story time. That's a bingo. I hit bingo on that one. 1,800 employees had to do virtual training on how to become LGBTQ plus allies. Founding member of the Chamber of Commerce, which Robbie Starbuck just covered. Sponsored an LGBTQ entrepreneur boot camp. The woke CEO Jochen Zeitz signed the CEO Action for Diversity and Inclusion pledge, made February and March months of inclusion because apparently Pride wasn't enough. That's a full 25% of the year now. 3 out of 12?
Yeah.
That's a full 25%. Multiple woke United Way trainings, donated millions to United Way. Sent some white male employees to a white male only woke diversity training program. That's called a mini re-education camp.
Yeah.
So that's just to name some of them, but all in on the gay shit.
All in on the gay shit, fully committed to the DEI agenda. And it looks, if you look at the company from a wide perspective, you'd say, this doesn't make sense. This is an American company. It's motorcycles, right? But
motorcycles that are like artificially loud. They have like
Yeah.
a specific loud engine sound that appeals to a very specific type of guy who's not gay.
Exactly. So it doesn't make any sense as to why they would do this. But then when you look at it from the globalist perspective, the Marxist DEI agenda, it actually makes perfect sense.
Because it's such a high value scalp.
Exactly. And if they've infiltrated Harley Davidson, they're everywhere else.
Sky's the limit. Yeah.
You already got Harley. That's like one of the final bosses. They're already everywhere else.
And then this is a company who never pauses to ask, like, so why are we doing this? And it's kind of like because everyone does it. Everybody who has an HR department eventually comes to this, right?
Yeah.
And they never pause and take that zoom out view, like, are we getting scalped right now?
Yeah.
Is this going to come to haunt us?
And I think it will. Hopefully it does.
Yeah.
And if you guys are in the market for motorcycles, don't buy a Harley.
Indian. There are other brands out there, maybe withhold a little bit of your the money that you give to them.
Or make them come crawling back and apologize.
Yeah.
That would be a
Get
good
them on
way.
the phone. Make them beg.
All right. Before we get into the Kamala Joe Biden stuff, I want to talk about JD Vance really quick.
Okay.
There was some polling done on his likability as a VP. Can you give this clip a play?
It's in negative net territory. Look at that. -6 points. I will tell you, Aaron, I have gone all the way back since 1980. He is the first guy after immediately following a convention, a VP pick, who actually had a net negative favorable rating. That is underwater. The average since 2000 is plus 19 points. JD Vance making history in the completely wrong way.
Yeah.
Not good. And the likability, not very high. And when I see him give speeches, I kind of get it.
Okay.
And I don't want to be fully negative, so I'm trying to be optimistic because the election's only a couple months away.
Yeah.
But I was watching a streamer who made a great point. Before JD Vance was a senator, he was in big tech, right? He was a tech guy.
Yeah.
And he worked with Peter Thiel, who founded Palantir. Palantir is a company, a big tech company that's partially funded by the CIA.
Yeah, it was initially, I think, funded.
And then they work directly with the CIA. So JD Vance, friend and business partner with Peter Thiel, who's a friend and business partner of the CIA. And then you look into it, and then you realize JD Vance got into the Senate in 2023.
Yeah.
So he's been in the Senate for 1 year, and now he's the vice president.
Pretty quick.
Kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
That's a little weird.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to, make everyone negative about it, but you've been in the Senate for 1 year and you have like some tech CIA background and now you're the vice president.
Yeah.
Sketchy at best.
I'm kind of skipping this topic just because we got bigger fish to fry. We got Kamala to fight, so whatever.
And before we get to the Kamala stuff, we have some Joe Biden stuff to get to.
We're going to be rapping on Joe Biden pretty soon.
Yeah.
Like, the put a bow on it, he's out. It's over. We need to move on. So
It's crazy. And it really is. There was actually a meme coin called Bowden.
Yeah.
And it ripped to like hundreds of millions market cap. And now that Joe Biden's done, it's down to like, under 10 million market cap?
Yeah.
Like reverse 10x, maybe more.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a sign of the times. So Joe Biden gave his speech in the Oval Office a couple of nights ago, basically just confirming that he's passing the torch to Kamala and he's not running for re-election, but he will finish out the term.
He framed it like it was some honorable thing, and that's what Democrat media is doing. They're like, oh, so honorable. He really took the high road there. And it's like, you guys bullied him out of office after he was proven to be retarded. Yeah. So like it's not really the high road. His family was crying. It was actually a sad elder abuse type scene.
Very much an elder abuse type scene. And also with this, which I'm seeing a lot of people who are right-leaning or Trump associates, like the All In podcast guys.
Yeah.
Chamath made a point where he said Joe Biden dedicated his life to be a public servant. Now he needs to be respected and wished well as he goes into his retirement. The guy was in on it.
Yeah, 20 million illegals are here now because of this guy.
And even Fox News, which obviously is trash, but Fox News people are like, oh, it's sad when we really respect him and we wish him the best. The guy was part of the problem. He was fully in on it, and now all of a sudden, well, he was a public servant from Delaware and he loves America. What are you talking about?
Crazy.
So he gave his speech from the Oval Office, which is obviously pre-recorded. As you can see on his watch, the time was not in the 8 o'clock hour.
Now, to be fair, Joe Biden could very easily be the guy who lets his watch get way behind or way ahead. So it's inconclusive for me.
Okay, so who knows? Maybe
But it's
it was
funny.
live, but I don't think it was.
Yeah.
And then someone made an interesting point on Twitter that they said it looks like Joe Biden has bruises on his face. Can you give that a read?
Says he's got big issues, a very deep bruise on his lower left jaw, screen right, which changes his speech pattern, creating even more slurring. He has a bruise over his left eye, directly on the socket where the eyelid folds. And he has lower tooth pain, likely also taking numbing meds. That's why he looks like he just had a root canal. Something happened.
So maybe he had a little incident where he had like a stroke or a stroke type thing, fell, hit his head.
Or they beat it out of him. I don't know, some back room tied to a chair shit.
Yeah, but I think he had a medical thing that made him fall and hit his head, and then that was like, all right, Joe, you're done.
Final straw.
That was the final straw.
Okay.
And before he proved he was alive, there was a funny meme going around. It said, Republicans, we want proof of life. Democrats, see, he's fine. And they showed like the wax figurine or whatever.
Animatronic Biden at like the House of Presidents.
He's all good. Yeah. And it's actually not far from the truth. As a lot of you guys know, the real Joe Biden's been dead for like, 3 or 4 years at this point?
I'm not in on this one.
Then here's some people wearing the Joe Biden mask.
Can't tell me this is normal. Look at his forehead. This is bullshit. That's a mask. That's a skin mask. It ain't normal.
That's a skin mask.
Pretty compelling.
And here's another one.
North Carolina. And he was a very conservative guy who was very, very...
Oh my gosh, that's a mask.
African American.
Holy cow.
He always had fights.
So who knows who's been wearing the Joe Biden skin mask this whole time?
I know. We never saw Jim Carrey. He was very quiet during this presidency.
Yeah.
So
Could be Jim Carrey. They used Stanley Kubrick to do the moon landing. So they probably would use Jim Carrey. Like, if you need an actor to play Joe Biden, you got to find like the best actor.
Yeah.
You can't just pick a guy and say, hey, you know how to act, right? Because then that guy would be a famous actor.
has to be A-list. Yeah.
Has to be A-list, has to be skilled, has to be a full character actor who's going to commit to it.
Facial range. You need the range.
And that's what Jim Carrey has.
Yeah.
And then also there was one more meme before we move on. Biden showing up after getting COVID, dropping out of the presidential race, and not being seen in public for days.
Yeah. Hey, I've seen this one before.
And who was that?
Damar Hamlin after he died on the field and was resurrected.
And after they replaced him with the body double too. So everything's fine. Joe Biden's all good. He's going into his final years, which takes us to our next part of housekeeping, the Kamala Harris DEI Vice President section.
Yeah.
People are getting mad that we're calling Kamala Harris a DEI hire.
Yeah.
But that's literally what like what they sought out to do.
Yeah, there's sort of an issue where Democrats promote DEI, but then they get mad when you say that's a DEI, that's a DEI hire. So they want to have it both ways, and they actually can't. This headline from CNN Politics from back in the day before it gets deleted, memory hold, whatever. Joe Biden says he is considering 4 black women to be his running mate. Just any black woman.
Yeah, so that's proof of it was DEI.
Yeah.
And then they're kind of like playing games with Kamala's race. Back in the day when she became a senator, there was a headline, watch Kamala Harris sworn in as first Indian American senator.
Yeah.
And we have a picture of her and her family. Everyone looks pretty Indian.
Dressed up in the garb.
But now, all of a sudden, Kamala is black again.
Yeah, Biden picks Kamala Harris, first black woman. So she's a switch hitter. It's like, a lefty pitcher, you bat lefty. Righty pitcher, you bat righty.
Yeah, so now she's black. And we're going over her accomplishments, like why she would deserve to be running for president. And Baller Alert, which is a very left-wing urban publication, similar to No Jumper or World Star, but like very left politically. They did a list. What has Kamala done to deserve being vice president? And they listed like 9 things. Can you read them through speed round style?
Yeah. Where's Vice President Kamala Harris? This seems to be the question of the moment. And to answer all these so-called concerned individuals who claim to not know her whereabouts, this is where the VP is. Number 1, being a vice president. And there's some pictures of her next to Joe Biden. Number 2, being a world leader. And there's pictures of her at state functions.
A little redundant.
Number 3, being a wife to the first second gentleman in history. Okay, so they didn't get divorced while they were in office?
So number 1 and 2 are the same, and number 3 is that she's Doug Emhoff's wife.
Yeah. Number 4, being an activist. And she is. She's being pictured with groups of people.
Making sure you have the right to kill unborn babies and bring illegal immigrants here.
Number 5, being a lawmaker, law enforcer, and a bullshit spotter. Just some pictures of her on the floors of Congress where she might have to be a tie-break vote.
I don't even know what that fully means.
Number 6, being an inspiration. And there's just more photos of her kind of looking around. Number 7, being a dream come true for some.
So inspiration is 6, and then being a dream come true for some is 7.
Yeah. Being human. There she is.
This is a part where I thought it was parody, but it's really not.
I know. And then 9, being the first woman vice president, blah, blah, blah.
So all the list of things that she's accomplished, it's nothing.
Yeah, it's like when you have a 5,000-word paper due in college and you start doing the period trick where you make the period size 14 font. You start adding redundant words the whole time. And turns out they couldn't even name one real accomplishment.
Yeah, she's a human.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Jeez, I would hope.
Well, actually,
what does that say about Joe Biden?
I was going to say, compared to Joe Biden, maybe that's like, one of the two is actually a person.
Yeah.
The other guy's just Jim Carrey in a skin mask. But to be real, she was in charge of the border.
Yeah.
That was like what could have been her accomplishment, but that was like her most important job. There was an Axios article.
Yeah.
Biden puts Harris in charge of border crisis. And then everyone's kind of trying to backtrack that. So Axios since then has taken that article down because obviously it's a bad look for her.
This article has been updated and clarified to note that Axios was among the news outlets that incorrectly labeled Harris a border czar back in 2021.
So they're covering for her now. And then Axios' updated article, Harris border confusion haunts her new campaign. And it's all the same author.
Yeah.
So it's the same person who said she's in charge of the border. Now they're saying, actually, we were wrong about that. And now they're saying the same author is saying, her being in charge of the border is haunting her campaign.
Yeah. And Axios, this was the most recent article, which got all of us in an uproar, was the Trump campaign and Republicans have tagged Harris repeatedly with the border czar title, which she never actually had.
Oh, so now they're just gaslighting us entirely?
Yes.
Pretending that it wasn't her responsible for the border, but we do have Joe Biden saying it himself.
Jim Carrey in the Joe Biden mask saying it himself.
I've asked her, the VP today, because she's the most qualified person to do it, to lead our efforts with Mexico and the Northern Triangle and the countries that help. We're going to need help in stemming the movement of so many folks stemming the migration to our southern border.
Okay, so there's Joe Biden saying she's in charge of it.
There you go.
And here's some border stats to see how she did. 2020 was Trump's last year. Looks like the numbers are all down. And then, ooga.
All-time high, slight tick back when it's getting closer to a re-election.
Yeah.
So they that's a big secret or, open thing. They do a lot in those first 2 years and go, hey, we can recover in 2 years.
And they say, well, we're down 20% from last year.
Exactly.
It's like, you guys let everyone in.
Exactly.
And also, don't forget, she was labeled by the government tracking service or whatever that website is, GovTrack. Mm-hmm. She was labeled in 2019 the most liberal senator out of all senators.
Yeah.
So, not good.
Crazy.
But don't worry, they're going to start juicing the polls. There's a political polls tweet that came out. General election, Harris is +4 over Trump.
Makes sense. She was just discovered last week.
So obviously that doesn't make sense and is not true. The betting, online betting of it is 64% favors Trump, 33% to Kamala, and then 2% to Michelle Obama for what's actually going to happen.
Yep.
So the betting stats is the reality.
Yeah.
And we're going to kind of do a little breakdown of who's voting for who and why by gender. That's the biggest giveaway. Can you read that tweet?
Yeah, the most important thing to understand about American politics today. Married men, 59% Republican. Single men, 52% Republican. Married women, 56% Republican. Single women, 68% Democrat.
That's where they get us.
That's where they really get us, dude. That's it.
And that's also why the government wants to break up the family unit so bad.
Of course.
And have single moms and single cat ladies.
And we've shown some of the stats on like single women's use of antidepressants on the show before. Straight line up, like crazy shit.
So yeah, the government's trying to be single ladies' significant others. So they can get them to go vote how they need them to until they give amnesty to the illegals, and then they'll win the elections that way.
Yep.
We have a clip from a recent Kamala rally. Look closely. What do you notice? All ladies and gay guys.
Couple gays.
Couple homosexuals.
Yeah.
But it's all ladies in the crowd. So, but this whole process of Kamala like rising to power, everyone's pretending it was done in a grassroots way.
Yeah.
As if there was some process. Here's Chuck Schumer's description of her becoming the name on the ticket.
So now that the process is played out, from the grassroots bottom up, we are here today to throw our support behind Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm clapping. You don't have to.
No one claps.
Grassroots. Joe Biden just endorsed her in a tweet after he stepped down in like the most unprecedented move in the history of politics.
Yeah.
That's grassroots.
That's very grassroots.
That's like someone knocking on your door and being like, hey, have you heard of Kamala? Crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
So they'll just lie, and the media will be there to cover for them, and the media will even delete their own reporting. That's kind of what we're figuring out here. And women, they slurp it up. They love it, and they'll vote for it.
Easy to trick these ladies, unfortunately. And this is a surprise to me. BLM is not endorsing Kamala. They actually have a problem with this whole process. Can you read BLM's tweet?
Yeah, I'm just going to read some of it because they start with a timeline of events that we pretty much all know. But BLM basically says a 24-hour process of talking to party bosses is not democratic, nor is it a process Democrats should be proud of. We do not live in a dictatorship. Delegates are not oligarchs. Installing Kamala Harris as the Democratic nominee and an unknown vice president without a public voting process would make the modern Democratic Party a party of hypocrites. We call on the DNC to create a process that allows for public participation, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So BLM gets a half-black presidential candidate, and they're still like, hold up.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
That's actually a good sign.
And I'm not going to act like BLM is rational, you know, but it is interesting to see the infighting.
Yeah, there's definitely some infighting, and BLM was a big asset for the Democrats, especially in 2020 with George Floyd.
Yeah, Kamala was bailing him out. She was getting behind the bail funds in Minnesota and stuff when they tear up his city.
Yeah, so
thought they'd have her back, a little reciprocity or something, right?
It's a sign of the times. Things are definitely changing. And then the Democrats are claiming that they've raised a record amount of money in just a few days now that Kamala announced. And we've kind of done some research and looked into it, and I believe it's fraudulent.
Yeah.
Act Blue, fraudulent. Can you read the tweet before we get into it?
Oh, it says there is a 0% chance on this planet that in 24 hours, 880,000 mostly first-time donators donated $80 million to Kamala Harris. The woman who got less than 1% of the vote in 2020 has a 37% approval rating and is polling worse than Joe Biden. They are laundering money through Act Blue. How stupid do they think people are?
So now we have a list of like just examples of ghost donors, like these people that are on the list for giving, but when you look at the amount and the amount of times they've given, it's basically impossible. Can you read the first example?
It's blaring red flags. Carrie A. is a 79-year-old living in Richmond, Virginia suburbs, renting an apartment for less than $2,000 a month. She allegedly has 22,619 Dem donations since 2019. For $839,000 in 592 days. Utter fraud, ID theft via Act Blue.
Yes, exactly. So it doesn't really, I mean, someone gave $1 million.
Yeah.
22,000 times in a year and a half. Mm-hmm. And we have another example.
22,000?
22,000. What can
How do you even do that? A computer doesn't even do that.
Yeah, and if you look at the amount of days, it's like, was that 4 a day?
It's something crazy. Yeah, 22,592 days. That's crazy.
It's like 3 a day.
Yeah.
And then our next example of a ghost donor is from New Orleans.
Yeah, a New Orleans resident named Cornelius M. was listed as not employed, but somehow donated to Act Blue 847 times between January 4th, 2021 and December 31st, 2022, totaling $18,276. Here's the vacant house listed under the donations address, Democracy in Action. And if you zoom in on the house, it's just like a 2x2 shotgun house with somebody sitting on the porch.
Doesn't look like someone who's donated 847 times.
That's the kind of person. That's the average donor. Don't get it twisted, right?
So this is how their schemes work.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, when was the last time we had an honest election?
I really am starting to lose faith and believe that we ever had one in the modern history. And especially like this is kind of the same principle where we say illegal immigrants, they don't have to vote themselves. Some Democrat activist, billionaire, dark pool money group is going to just steal their identity. And then someone's going to get locked up to make an example of him. And he's like, I didn't even vote. Yo no vote. So it's kind of the same principle. You know, you find a hollowed out shell of someone and you use them for your means. And this should be like Woodward and Bernstein level journalism. You know, this should be like, holy shit. We found 22,000 donations. Like, that's absolutely the fakest thing I've ever seen. So
it's like all day you would just be clicking around donating if you donated 22,000 times.
You have an alarm going off 4 times a day. Oh, donate to Act Blue again. Donate to Act Blue.
Yeah, so that's what's going on. Very grassroots, as Chuck Schumer said. Very democratic process. And then Jason Miller had an interesting tweet about who Kamala might put in her cabinet. Can you read that?
Hearing from Democrat insiders that Kamala Harris will name check Elizabeth Warren or Gary Gensler for Treasury, Bernie Sanders for HHS, and get this, in order to motivate the liberal base, AOC for defense.
I hope that's just a lie to get us.
I really hope someone's feeding Jason Miller misinformation there.
Just to get us motivated and scared.
I know.
Because it worked.
And so broad spectrum on the Kamala stuff, I just want to talk about it. Like, we've seen the media machine whir up and just promote propaganda for her, like some memes and calling her bratty and co-opting kind of like the musician culture and
Gen
stuff like that.
Z, meme person, meme queen.
And there's only 4 months till the election, right? And Kamala hasn't really done much since Joe Biden passed the torch. And it's kind of this weird thing where how many total reps is she going to have speaking or saying anything? 4 months, you know? She might do 3 public events a month and she all of a sudden has 12 appearances before an election.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think she's going to kind of try to hide a little bit and just let the machine do the work for her. So
just like they did in 2020.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right, we're on to our next page of housekeeping. Before we get there, make sure you guys use this opportunity to help us tickle the post, juice the algo, leave a like, leave a comment, then leave a comment again, then start yapping. P.O. Box needs to be full and notifications need to be on.
Bonus land?
Bonus land.
Joined.
Please. Emergency. All right. We're into our migrant section. There's a lot of problems going on in Paris now that the Olympics are there. And obviously a big part of that is there's so many third worlders there that would in real life never cross paths with the Olympics.
Yes.
Because the Olympics would never go to shithole third world countries.
Yeah, their Olympics would Syria, Libya, they would never win the Olympics. They don't have the infrastructure, the manpower, the people are kind of, you know, they're here. So they would never win the Olympics, but because Western nations have been so, you know...
Generous,
yeah, that's a good word for it. Now these types of people are hanging around the Olympics,
and
right?
they're directly interacting with the tourists and the people that are there for the Olympics, and unfortunately, it's leading to some gang rapes.
A major police investigation is underway tonight after an Australian woman reported being gang raped here in the Party district of Paris. This 25-year-old woman, according to several French media outlets, sought refuge in a kebab store just metres from Moulin Rouge. She went inside with her dress on back to front. It was reportedly torn, and she told police that she had been raped by 5 men. Now, this woman...
Yeah.
5 men.
5 men.
Just men, right?
That's how the news reported it. But there was a headline that described them. They were described as men of African appearance. Yeah, so that'll tell you a little more. And keep in mind, too, people try to pretend like, oh, it's just a few bad apples, it's a few rapists in the bunch.
Yeah.
It's like that was 5 men who participated in the rape, and then also I'm sure she was screaming.
Yeah.
And during that time, all the other migrants who heard it just kind of ignored it. Mm-hmm. Because that's how it goes.
That's how it goes. They look the other way. They're from a vastly different culture. And we kind of covered the last one, too, where people were, the girl in Germany, where people were sending WhatsApp messages to each other. Hey, free rape. Come on down.
And no one was saying, hey, guys, what are you doing?
Whoa, should we stop? We're guests in this country.
Yeah.
They don't really consider that.
Exactly. And there was a PSA that went out about France and how dangerous it is because of the migrants. It's in a different language, so maybe Rapboy, can you read the what's being said?
If you are a woman and you come to France for the Olympics, you should watch this video. In the Ile-de-France region in 2019, 63% of sexual assaults and 93% of thefts on public transport were committed by foreigners. If these numbers impact the daily lives of French women, they also affect tourists. Like these 3 Thai girls stripped in a building hall in Cannes last August. You will surely want to attend one of the most emblematic shows in Paris, the Eiffel Tower that lights up at night. Make no mistake, the countless rapes on the Champ de Mars, which many tourists have been victim of, should make you stop the envy. This video is a prevention video. The daily life of the French is already a nightmare. We are looking at the worst for the Olympics. And she goes on to give them some tips of how to avoid becoming a victim of migrant foreigner crime in Paris.
Yeah. And that's unfortunately, like, we don't like to make predictions that are so negative, but I think you're going to hear a lot about crime and sexual assaults in Paris during the Olympics by all these migrants.
And I think an Olympian is going to be a victim too. Like even that level, they're going to just, somebody who's there to actually participate in the Olympics is going to be a victim.
Yep. And then I wonder how they'll be treated when they come out and talk about it.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out for that.
And then also, just like we said, these are people who would never be anywhere near an Olympic village or an Olympic hosting site in their lives because their countries are too run down and incapable of winning an Olympics bid. And now all of a sudden they're there, right?
Exactly.
So it's this weird like gray area thing. Well, these people, how are they going to act when the whole frenzy comes to town and cops and police are like understaffed and overburdened? And it's like, I don't know, let's roll the dice. We already let him in.
Yeah. So you're mixing like groups that never would mix.
Yeah.
You know, well, I wonder how a polar bear will do in the desert.
And he rips the seal's throat, whatever it is, you know.
And then also, this is obviously an issue in America as well. New York City suffering from alarming rape surge. Apparently, rape is up by 300% in New York City.
Yeah, a damning report by the New York Post is sounding the alarm after data sourced from the NYPD confirmed a surge of rape cases across the Big Apple. According to law enforcement, New York City has seen a staggering 11% increase in reported rapes this year, with some areas experiencing more than double compared to the same period last year. So that's the main point. It's like some specific pockets of New York are just blowing up, and it's like, well, what happened? Who's there, right?
I wonder who's doing it.
Yeah. Experts are pointing to several potential factors driving this abhorrent trend, namely a surge in the migrant population, anti-white bail reform policies, liberal prosecutors like Alvin Bragg, and dwindling NYPD manpower. So it's a confluence of leftist policy that's kind of driving some rapes, right? Manhattan's 10th precinct, which includes Chelsea, Hell's Kitchen, South, and Hudson Yards, has seen a 300% increase since last year. Midtown South precinct, which includes the city's iconic Times Square, has seen an 111% increase. So that's Manhattan. Yeah. You know, they cover, NYPD is all 5 boroughs, and that's Manhattan, and that's where the migrants are hanging out. That's where the hotels are.
It's also like the most expensive part of New York City.
Yeah.
It's Manhattan.
It's where rapes really shouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
And officials claim that in many instances, rapes are carried out by people known to the victims, but so-called stranger rapes are increasingly common. So that's kind of the worst one. That's just some random guy, a migrant from somewhere, who's like, oh, hey, I'm following you to your car.
Yeah.
So, you know, head on a swivel out there, but that's what the leftist policies get you.
Exactly. And then to finish up the migrant section, back to Paris, Hamas released a video That's basically a threat to anyone involved with the Olympics and a threat to Paris. It says, "You invited Zionists to the Olympic Games. You will pay for what you have done. Rivers of blood will flow through the streets of Paris." And then at the end of the video, they lifted up a decapitated head.
Yeah.
So usually I would not take these threats from Hamas seriously.
Exactly.
But when you spent years and years bringing in third world terrorists into your country,
and people who are sympathetic to Hamas,
I believe them.
Yeah, I'll take them at their word. High alert, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you're out there scoping for terrorists and all your police resources are what's in that bag, who's in that thing, then all of a sudden a rape slips under the cracks, right?
And a lot of times they take the weapons away from the police.
Yeah.
So that's what happens in the UK a lot. They have like batons and pepper spray. A lot of non-lethal when you probably need lethal more than ever.
We'll see what France does. Yeah.
Yeah. And then speaking of Hamas threats, there was the Netanyahu speech in Congress. And outside on our monument, someone wrote, "Hamas is coming."
Yeah, spray painted it right on there. And the Freedom Bell was also graffitied to shit. So it's like Bibi is the Israeli prime minister who comes and talks to Congress, gets standing ovations, and then he causes the inverse reaction from also retarded people. Just acting up, right?
Exactly.
Like it's like, and I don't like either. I don't like or care about either, right?
And there was a John Fetterman meme. John Fetterman wore a suit. The guy who always wears hoodies and shorts.
Who's sometimes jokingly worn a tie over a hoodie because that's how much he won't wear a suit. And it says, to find out who rules over you, find out who Fetterman will put on a suit for.
Yeah.
And it's BB.
And Netanyahu got multiple standing ovations. And he actually disrespected everyone in America to their face when he said this.
20 9/11s in one day. And these monsters, they raped women, they beheaded men, they burnt babies alive.
Yeah, so he's saying the October 7th attacks were equivalent to 20 9/11s.
That's strange.
Nah, not even one, actually. 20 9/11s. What are you talking about? And it's actually ironic to hear the Prime Minister of Israel say that, especially some show watchers. If you know why those 3 buildings fell on 9/11, you know who was really behind it. It's actually a little ironic for him to be bringing up 9/11.
Yeah.
You'd think he'd kind of want to not talk about it as an Israel person who's in charge of Mossad. And then here's where it gets interesting as well. I didn't know this. Netanyahu and his family, when they come to America on trips, they bring suitcases of dirty laundry for us to clean up.
Crazy.
Can you read that?
Yeah, the clothes are cleaned for the Prime Minister free of charge by the U.S. staff, a perk that is available to all foreign leaders but sparingly taken advantage of given the short stays of busy heads of state. The Netanyahus are the only ones who bring actual suitcases of dirty laundry for us to clean, said one U.S. official, who, like others, spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss the details of a foreign leader's visits. After multiple trips, it became clear this was intentional. So he uses the White House laundry service and brings in extra dirty stuff. Like
that's what I used to do when I would go home from college.
I know,
for like the holidays.
Yeah, it's college kid shit.
And you bring like a bag of like kind of dirty clothes, then your mom cleans it. I was doing that at like 20 years old.
Yeah, you save on the dry cleaning bill. You know, your mom does it right, but it's not really what Netanyahu should be up to. I don't think.
Isn't that crazy? But luckily, Thomas Massey kept it 100.
Yeah, AIPAC said once again, Rep. Thomas Massey is standing with AOC and Bernie Sanders against our ally Israel. And then Thomas Massey said, "Call me anything you want. I still won't be attending your war rally."
Thank you, Thomas Massey.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, we're moving on to our last page of housekeeping. This is my favorite page. This is the schizo page.
All right.
This is where it gets good. We have an update. The time traveler who posts about what's coming?
Yeah.
He has a new one.
He kind of got it kind of right. There was an earthquake, but it wasn't even near the scale, and it kind of was somewhere else, right? Didn't he say Singapore or something?
He was kind of right.
All right, so he's 20% right. Let's call it 20%.
He's 20% right, and he has some upcoming events. He's a time traveler, and this is what he posted about upcoming events in 2024.
All right, we're playing this with no audio because he's got a copywritten song, but it says, "I am a time traveler. Here are all the significant events to come the rest of 2024. August 9th, the Leviathan is found living in the Bermuda Triangle. It has caused many ships and planes to go missing."
That's true.
Okay. August 15th, dragons are found living in the Rocky Mountains. They can fly, breathe fire, and even speak English. September 15th, the first ever hypercane, a hurricane with winds over 500 miles per hour, hits the U.S. East Coast.
That's not good.
It destroys the Carolinas. It is 2,500 miles wide. Millions of people lose their homes.
That's bad.
Okay, September 23rd, the first ever confirmed alien signal reaches Earth. It says, "We come for you." Uh-oh. It is sent by an alien race called the Others, who want to take over Earth, as they have done to hundreds of other planets. October 3rd, another kind of human is found called Homo novus. They have webbed hands and feet and much better hearing. There is only 6,000 of them left, and they have been wiped out by hunters and kept secret.
I've heard about that.
Okay, wow, good.
So that's scary stuff.
Yeah, it's scary stuff, but thankfully, if he was only 20% right the first time, as you know, my take is a time traveler needs to be 100% right. Otherwise, what's the point? You kind of got close. So we're safe from all that. The Carolinas are safe. Hunker down in your home. No hypercane.
No hypercane.
Yeah, no hypercane.
Well, a lot of times people will alter the timeline once a time traveler makes statements like this.
Okay, so that's your out. That's your out on being.
Keep that in mind.
Okay.
And then there was another guy who is similar to the time traveler who posted about this paper issue.
This is exactly the paper that we're looking for on the drop. So this is the mid-level paper. You see how it's flat? And you see this? Look. You see how it's flat? This is the frozen piece. See the etchings in it? This is the fucking frozen piece right here.
That was interesting.
Okay.
That was the paper they were looking for.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, let's get into our last piece of our schizo housekeeping part. Brittany Griner and Tyga might be the same person.
Okay, let's see.
We have some side-by-sides. Compelling.
Tongue.
Compelling as well.
Okay.
Looks the same.
Okay, close. All right, you're losing me.
They look related.
Yeah.
They look like they're the same person. And then you know how the rap game is.
Yeah. How is it?
They make you do some shit.
Okay.
And then is Tyga 7 feet tall? Or
I don't think so. That's where you lose
is
it.
Tyga
6'8"?
Because can Tyga score 20 points in women's basketball game?
Probably, actually. I bet Tyga hoops.
Something to think about.
Yeah.
All right, that is the end of our housekeeping, page 4. We are moving on to Cringe of the Week. Our first story in Cringe, MrBeast.
Yeah.
Biggest YouTuber ever?
Yes, literally.
Ever?
300 million subscribers, something like that. Like, just broke the record.
And then Chris, one of the guys in his channel.
Yeah, Chris from MrBeast.
Became a girl.
Mm-hmm. He became Ava.
Ava.
He's Ava now.
He's trans.
Here's a pic.
And then Ava was caught texting minors, borderline grooming, I guess. Depends on how you want to say it.
Yeah. Exactly. Ava Chris Tyson has announced she is stepping back from the channel and social media amid unverified claims of an inappropriate relationship with a minor. Tyson, who rose to fame as co-host on the MrBeast channel, said that they were stepping away to focus on my family and mental health. And I think a lot of these little inappropriate things were done as Chris. So, but Ava didn't try to wipe it under the rug as like, oh, that was the old me, which could be a move for them.
Like when Bruce Jenner killed the person and then became Caitlyn.
Exactly.
Well, that was Bruce.
That's water under the rug. And so the statement from Chris was, I would like to apologize for any of my past behavior or comments. If it hurt or offended anyone, it was not my intent. Seeing recent events, we've mutually decided it's best I permanently step away from all things MrBeast and social media to focus on my family and mental health. But then MrBeast, his statement was a little different. His was, I become aware of the serious allegation of Ava Tyson's behavior online, and I am disgusted and opposed to such unacceptable acts. That said, I've seen enough online and taken an immediate action to remove Ava from the company, my channel, and any association with MrBeast. So in one statement, I'm deciding to step away. In the other statement, you're fucking fired.
Yeah.
And so we have a little clip here. Basically, there's been a couple people who have acted like this.
Chris Tyson from MrBeast used me, manipulated me, and did very inappropriate things with me while I was about 15 years old.
So a couple of those. There were some Discord and Twitter DMs with like young kids that were kind of just borderline, like really kind of sketchy. Like, oh, what can I buy for you? And different.
I want to spoil you.
Yeah, different creepy shit like that, right?
And then Chris from MrBeast, Ava, also talks about lolly porn.
Yeah, which I don't
is
really
like some. I think it's anime.
It's like drawn shit.
It's like weird anime porn that like wires your brain into becoming trans, I think.
I think that's more pedo, but I agree. And so obviously we've had discussions on the show about different types of trans and what drives you. And this guy to me is a porn jerking off induced trans situation.
Freak. Got
so deep into like the weird shit that it was like, oh, I'm a girl now. I'm a girl. That's fine. DMing minors, stuff like that. So I guess good for MrBeast for taking the head off the freak.
But a lot of people are saying MrBeast knew.
Yeah, I think there were signs. I think there were unignorable signs.
And like Ava had like weird lolly porn posters in his room.
Yeah.
All over where MrBeast was with him. So there's going to be more coming out about this. And like MrBeast is kind of getting canceled too for some past things he said.
A lot of people are turning on him and the channel because it's kind of like this brain rot type content that's targeted at kids, like giving away 1,000 iPhones. And it's very materialistic and then targeting at like little kids. And, you know, in a vacuum, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, but it's kind of causing people to reevaluate what's up with this channel in general.
Yeah.
So it's obviously the hugest channel literally on YouTube. So I don't know.
Tons of kids. And then people were giving MrBeast a hard time when Chris became Ava. And then MrBeast defended him and said, yeah, this is getting absurd. Chris isn't my nightmare. He's my fucking friend and things are fine. All the transphobia is starting to piss me off.
So, and it's funny because he got caught in this situation where somebody in his crew turns trans, and what's he gonna do? He's a normie. He'd get canceled. Obviously, us, we laugh at Ava. We laugh. Oh, you're Ava now? Been jerking off a lot, huh, Ava? So we laugh, but MrBeast had to do the I'm a normie thing and endorse it, and then this kind of gave him an out now. So Ava's dismissed, and Ava.
And then
he changed his name from Chris, C-H-R-I-S, to Chris, K-R-I-S. Like, I'm a feminine Chris now. And then it switched to Ava. So he can't even get that right.
And then Rolling Stone wrote an article about the whole situation, and they said, Ava Chris Tyson steps away from all things MrBeast amid transphobic attacks.
Yeah, so let's not mention what it's really about.
That's one way to put it.
Rolling Stone.
Yeah.
What happened to Rolling Stone? That's a hollowed out, like Rolling Stone, rocker shit. And then that's Harley Davidson wrote.
It all gets hollowed out.
Yeah.
The what's it called? The pillars of society, the institutions that took years to build and gain trust and became staples of America are now defending transphobia, saying transphobia, defending trans people doing bad things to kids.
Yeah, and so it's funny because this guy got so much support from like Twitter and the LGBTQ goon squad on Twitter, and only to besmirch their name and be like what I believe to be a porn-induced twink mania.
Yeah, porn-induced twink mania, exactly. All right, we're on to page 2 of Cringe. This black woman says she's oppressed in a street interview, but can't really back it up. Let that play, please.
As a black woman in America, it's always going to be harder to get to the corporate level of things.
You got a good example of that?
Let me see. Okay. I'm a pre-law student, so just thinking about like my future, I have to go against men, mainly white males, or even our own black male community attacking us like, oh, you're too high up in a position or you're making this much money. So like those are curveballs that black women face in America.
So those curveballs keep you from what?
Whether it's promotions, getting a husband, being happy later on in life, because it's kind of like placed on you because you doing well for yourself and not the other person. So yeah.
Well, my sister's actually a lawyer. She's married, got 3 beautiful daughters, and she's very successful and entrepreneurial. So when I hear things about what's holding you back, I think it's more about what are you not doing to overcome those things. So I think right now...
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And a lot of the times with these street interviews and people who have these point of views, it's, I feel like.
Yep.
Oh, I feel like it's so hard to get ahead and I feel like everyone's against me. And that kind of tells you everything you need to know about this, because I feel like is purely emotional.
It's purely emotional, and then it's also being fed by the media, social media, other black people reinforcing those feelings, right?
Exactly. So it's like, I feel like it's really hard to get ahead and everyone's against me. But in reality, it's actually the opposite.
Yeah.
Like so many barriers of entry are removed or knocked down for black people when it comes to like test scores, getting into college, LSATs, getting into med school. And it's actually easier than ever, but they're convinced that it's actually harder than ever. And it actually plays out long term in a way that the globalists and Marxists are happy about. Because when you are finally put into positions of power as a black person, you think, oh, I'm barely here. Everyone's against me. I need to use this power and position I'm in to get more people like me in the door and less white people. And we actually have another clip that exactly proves that point.
Yeah, time to right all the wrongs that I have no empirical evidence of. Right?
Exactly.
Because they were all feelings.
Yeah, I walk into the room and very rarely does it look like, anyone who reflects my community or my friends or my circle. And so I decided, focus group of one, team of one, I'm going to just hire myself again and again and again and again and again. If I want to increase the numbers of diversity or especially black women in tech, I'm going to do it myself. And so as I looked at the resumes that were not diverse candidates, I just started pulling from my group of friends, started pitching them. And I was like, girl, what you doing today?
That's how you ruin a company.
That's pretty much it. You let one weevil in the honey hole and it starts multiplying, right? With no qualifications, just my friends.
And you can't fire her because she's a black woman.
Uh-huh.
And she's convinced that instead of being grateful for being in that position, she's convinced that it's her duty to right the wrongs. So instead of hiring qualified people, she's going to hire other black people that look like her. And then your company just goes like this, when it was probably built by white guys.
Yeah, and it's not about qualifications. It's just about me versus them, right? It becomes a team game, and who's my team? It's not even the company. Her team is beyond the company. It's just black women like her, right?
Yeah.
So it's very strange, but not unexpected. And I've heard a lot of anecdotes about the same thing happening. I mean, this is just identity politics, and it kind of happens with a lot of groups. Indian men who get into a managerial position just start hiring their Indian bros. You don't think they love hanging out with the Indian bros all day?
Yeah.
And it's kind of this thing where you can use diversity as an excuse for it, but at the end of the day, you're just hiring exactly you. It's the Somalis hiring Somalis or chain migrating to Minneapolis, right? It's not like true diversity. It's just one group now having the whip in the other hand, and it's like, okay, only black women, right?
It's time for revenge.
Yeah.
And then this actually goes across, if you zoom out even further, just like across the gender spectrum. Can you read this social experiment?
Yeah, this was a guy who was applying for jobs, and he said, I sent 100 applications as a man and a woman. It's much better being a woman. So I did an experiment. I work in CS and decided to test what the gender bias is. So I took my CV and changed the name to a female name. I'd send it out with my real name, then a few days later, or a few days before, with a female name. Out of 100, my applications with a male name got 7 responses for interview. Out of 100, my applications with a female name got 45 responses to interview. The female resume was 650% more likely to get a call back, and the resumes were identical. So then I thought, what about someone looking for working class jobs? So I decided to focus on restaurants, servers, hosting, etc. Made a fake resume and responded to Craigslist ads with both male and female names. Sometimes the male went first, sometimes the female. Out of 100, my application with a male got 10 responses to interview, and my applications with a female out of 100 got 87. The female resume got 870% more responses.
Yeah. So the people who everyone thinks has it the hardest actually have it the easiest. And the people who actually have it the hardest, which is white guys in the modern day when it comes to getting jobs and stuff, everyone's convinced they have it the easiest.
Yeah.
So it's fully backwards.
It's fully backwards, but if you go and ask a girl on the street, she feels like it's really hard or something. And we're like looking at data, like here's the med school acceptance rate at UCLA and here's this. And they're like, I just feel like they're not letting us in.
Yeah. They think life should be easy for some reason.
I have no idea where that came from, but
I don't get it.
But it's reinforced everywhere, right? The media, Kamala Harris, that's why we kind of are covering this section, the Kamala Harris DEI denial. And it's like and we actually had a screenshot before for that was the media pressuring Joe Biden to pick a DEI candidate. So it's all a circular thing. And but if you still feel like you're being bullied, that's valid.
Yep, Harley Davidson. Yeah, it's literally the easiest now than ever to be a brown person and get whatever job you want.
Yeah.
But everyone has to pretend it's not.
Yeah.
Well, don't get too down or too depressed. Moving on to Urban Decay. It's going to get a little bit worse.
Yeah, it
before
will.
Uplifting.
It will.
First is the Asian basketball player kid getting head stomped.
Very brutal head stomp.
He was down on the floor.
Boom.
And this kid just came and just stomped on him, and it's on his head. You could clearly see the size of his shoe on his face. My son suffered concussion for the first time he played basketball.
I think everyone was in shock. I think, we all kind of went on the court, went up to the coach of the other team to say, hey, what just happened? What's going on?
If we don't say anything right now, this kid will think it's okay to do it because he's young. He thinks that walking away from this situation, just like you did, is just okay.
Maybe a good time to take up lacrosse.
Yeah, hockey, golf, some economic barrier to entry sports, where your peer group might be a little, I don't know.
If you're an Asian kid in the Bay Area.
Basketball, you're an Asian kid in the Bay Area, what are you going to be, 5'10"?
Yeah, max.
I don't think you should.
But then again,
you should spend a lot of time.
We can't tell kids not to play sports because there's bad urban youths.
Oh, yeah. No, it's true. And there's a certain thing like I'm all about high competitiveness and kids doing kind of crossing a line or like shoulder checking or something. But the head stomp is such an insane thing to think about doing immediately.
I've never seen that.
Fully stomp on someone's head.
And it wasn't even a fight either. They were just trying to get the ball on the ground, and the kid just kind of like his instincts kicked in.
They were fighting for a jump ball. The result both of them wanted was to have a jump ball, right? That's what you do in basketball, and the immediate reaction was a head stomp. So very insane. But I mean, we did kind of make that point in the golf special bonus land. Maybe you need to be thinking about what sports your kids are in, and then who his peer group is going to be in some of those sports, right?
Or be a bad dude.
Yeah.
You got to be a little more of a badass, honestly. I think if someone stomps your head, you got to get up and knock him out.
Yeah. I don't know.
Your team should come and do the same thing.
Kick him off the tour. That's what the head stomper needs to be like permanently banned. There needs to be kind of an overreaction to deter that kind of behavior, right?
Yeah. And as people who played sports, me and Rap Boy played football our whole lives in college. You go against all different types of groups. There's different attitudes of the groups in general. Black people, when you go against them in sports who are being aggressive, they are afraid of people who are not afraid of them. So if the first play of the game, you go and they hit you and you go, they're going to be on your ass all game.
Yeah.
But in the first play of the game, if you drive them through the whistle out of bounds and then kind of punch them in the face, they're going to go, whoa, chill.
Yeah.
And that's usually how it goes.
Yeah, and so speaking of things, things to avoid that have a certain element to them, this is a video of a sneaker reseller and some of the perils or, things that they have to go through.
And really quick, just to sum up that last clip, you can't take any shit.
Yeah.
That's the key. If you're going to be weak and scared, they're going to jump all over you. You can't take any shit. All right, play this next clip, please.
Yeah, do whatever you gotta do, like unlace them and all that stuff. What size are you true to size?
Shit. I'm size 10, but size 9.5.
Looks like he's selling some Jordans, couple pairs.
How much you want for these? You could have given like a little bit discount.
I drove over here too, so what were you thinking?
Like 200. Look.
What were you thinking on the
Put those shoes on, dog.
No, I can't do that, dude. I got the GoPro on.
Man, shoot, man. Watch out.
So he got robbed.
Tells him he has a GoPro on, and the guy who's on camera still pulls out a gun and robs him for 2 pairs of Jordans, totaling about $500.
Yeah. So who would have guessed that aftermarket Jordans, used Jordans, could get you robbed by some urban individuals?
I think I think we should have known that. Those are the type of people who show up to buying it. And a lot of these people, they like flipping shoes. They're part of shoe culture. You know where you don't get robbed? Pokemon cards.
Yeah.
Pokemon cards. Do some Magic the Gathering cards. You know what? Start buying drivers on Craigslist. You meet up with a 50-year-old in a parking lot. He pays full asking price.
Secondhand golf clubs.
Secondhand golf. Just switch, man. You're
Sell it to
never
some
going to get
boomer.
robbed. Yeah.
Sell it to some boomer. You're never going to get robbed.
Yeah.
Wow. Sad.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's go to our last clip of Urban. It's the one that was going very viral this week of the George Floyd 2 almost. So basically, these cops were responding to a complaint. I think this woman actually called the cops.
She called the police, yeah.
And originally...
For a prowler, I believe.
For a prowler. So they're in her house. They're talking to her. And they only originally showed the second cop's body cam, so you can't really see what happened. So we're going to play both clips. First is the second cop's body cam. And it shows... You can't really tell what's going on.
Away from your hot steaming water.
Away from my hot steaming water?
Yeah.
Oh, I would rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
I
rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
You better fucking not. I swear to God, I'll fucking shoot you right in your fucking face.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Drop the fucking pot! Drop the fucking pot!
So you don't really see what happened, but it looks like the cop just like overreacts and shoots the woman.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone was freaking out online. This is George Floyd again. The cops are so bad. But when you look at the body cam from the first cop's perspective, you see she was trying to throw the water. Let that play.
You better fucking not.
She has boiling water.
Shoot you right in your fucking face.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Drop the fucking pot! Drop the fucking pot! Drop the fucking pot!
19 shots fired.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
So in the slow-mo, you can see she's like this with the pot of boiling water as the cop's shooting her.
Yeah, and this was a mentally unwell woman who was kind of muttering some weird stuff, like "Begone, devil," once she called the cops to her own house. Was the cop shooting her in the face and saying, "I'm going to shoot you in the face"? Is that going to help him in court? Absolutely not.
Are his skull tattoos going to help him in court?
Probably not. They'll villainize that. But there's just some point here where, like, I feel no relation to the person on the other end of it either. I feel no reaction like, oh, damn, that could have been me. I could have been in the situation where I was headshot after throwing boiling water at a cop.
Yeah, cops are within 10 feet of you. I'm not going to go like this with my boiling pot of water.
Yeah.
So I'll just turn the stove off.
I don't know. People are mad online. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. But this guy is being charged with murder, I believe, like murder one, which you can argue he's going to have a defense, and we'll see, you know. But there's just something where people want you to be so mad at this, and I just can't relate.
It's like we always talk about how like every example of police brutality and unarmed black people getting killed by police is always like has a caveat.
Some gray area. Some like, yeah, but it's like improv, right?
Yeah.
Yes, and it's like, yeah, but.
Yes, the cop killed her and she was throwing boiling pot of water.
Yeah.
Yes, George Floyd got killed by the cop and he ate the fentanyl before he went on the ground and was saying I can't breathe before he was on the ground.
And the counterfeit 20, which is why the cops were there, which was true. So, yeah, I don't know. It's obviously sad. Nobody deserves to get executed by police, right? Mm-hmm. So I have that. But then am I going to march in a street or like really change my life at all because someone having a mental episode was trying to throw boiling water? Mm-hmm. Also, no. So, exactly. I mean, it's just one of those very weird things, and I don't... I'm not going to spend too much time on it, you know?
Yep. We just wanted to show the difference between the two body cams, and obviously we know which one the media led with.
Yeah.
The one where you can't really see what's going on. All right, let's get into uplifting gold. Don't get too down or too depressed. We have some uplifting clips here. Our first is the... you just play them in order.
The DC nonprofit partners with Mattel on first black Barbie with Down syndrome.
Wow. Uplifting. Needed that.
Black population is like 13%. Black women population is, 7%, 6.5%, something like that. And then it's like of that, the people with Down syndrome, it's like Down syndrome is probably 1% of that. So you're whittled down to 0.01% of the population, and then they have to like Barbie.
Yeah. But that's like what they do with Harley Davidson. It doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to be a good business plan. You have to just pledge your allegiance to the agenda.
Absolutely. So enjoy. For the 3 people out there, enjoy.
And then our next clip is these goats that were used to clear out someone's backyard. This is kind of cool.
Another job with a lot of weeds. This quarter-acre lot in Rio Rancho was covered up in tumbleweeds, kochia, mugwort, tansy mustard, puncture vine, and silverleaf nightshade, and even a bunch of Virginia creeper crawling over the wall from the neighbors. This was another slumber party job. It took my 85 goats and sheep 3 days and 3 nights to complete this job. The price on this job was $485 plus tax. And yes, in New Mexico, all goods and services are taxed. Another common question is, what do you do with all the poop afterwards? It's written into the contract and the customers agree that the poop is left on site.
Very cool. And then check out the end, the before and after.
Wow.
They do a good job.
Yeah, the goats really slurp it up.
And the goats get fed. You don't have to clean up the poop, and you get paid.
It's a nice lawnmower. All right, nice.
That's natural lawnmower stuff. It's better than spraying it with Roundup or something.
Yeah, sure.
You know, it kills everybody. All right, let's go to this clip of Unk.
Gracias. Gracias. Gracias.
Say gracias to the Japanese guy.
Yep.
And then I found this next clip on Instagram. It only had like, I think 100 likes.
Okay.
So I'm like getting deep in the algo of unique people.
Street people.
Unique street people.
Okay.
And check out what happens here.
You want to talk shit, you fucking losers? What's up? I'm here on the beach. What the fuck is up?
Is that him spitting on his own phone?
Spitting on his own phone. So whoever sees it gets the, he wanted to spit on you.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's like a beautiful beach, Venice Beach. And the schizo guy is like ready to spit and bleeding. Hepatitis C positive blood.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Venice.
That's what's going on.
Beautiful.
Our next clip, I don't know if you guys have any voice issues or you want to do some voice training. We found a company that does voice training.
Voice sample in case of a rare voice disorder before treatment.
सर जैसे मेरी आवाज़ बहुत ज़्यादा पतली है लड़कियों जैसे
पोस्ट थेरेपी वीडियो
सर मेरा नाम गौरव है और मेरी आवाज़ बहुत ज़्यादा पतली थी पहले और अभी सही
Wow.
What an improvement.
That guy's a real doctor.
They wouldn't fake it for social media, would they?
No.
With a fake
That was impressive. They must have put a lot of work in.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
That's our small business shout out.
Wow.
In our last clip of the whole show, this whale knocks a boat over.
That's called bad luck.
You see how heavy that whale is?
Yeah.
That boat takes a lot to get it like that. And then once it's tipped and it's off its axis,
yeah,
it just goes under.
What kind of whale is that? Humpback?
Humpback, it looks like.
And then a blue whale is the biggest. You know a blue whale? They say that's the biggest animal ever.
Well, yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
It doesn't speak English.
No, I never said that. That has nothing to do with it.
Not a dragon.
Okay.
So maybe when the dragons from Rocky Mountains come, we can compare them to blue whale size.
True.
Well, that is the end of the episode. You want to go for another 30 minutes?
Yeah, probably.
Well, we're going to do exactly that. Do you guys want another 30 minutes? FleckUsTalks.com is where you find that. And also the extra 30 minutes we've done for every episode for the last 100 and something episodes.
You got a backlog.
We got a big backlog. So if you like the show and you want more of the show, you want to maybe have a little, binge all weekend.
Yeah.
FleckUsTalks.com is the website. Please join and sign up. It helps keep the lights on, especially coming into the election. We need all the support, every aspect we can. So please go sign up. It means a lot to us, and you're going to love Bonus Land. We always have really high quality stuff in Bonus
Our
Land.
last Bonus Land was really good. It was one of our better ones where we talked about biological versus educational changes to your politics and stuff. Ideological versus biological. So
We're talking about how we think Zuckerberg's testosterone's going up.
His testosterone went up and politics lags testosterone. So he's not giving Zuckbucks to Dems anymore. And we had kind of a few other examples too.
Yeah.
So
It was a really good one, and we have a great one today as well. So please go sign up. Thank you guys for watching. Have a nice weekend. We'll see you in Bonus Land.
Behind Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm clapping. You don't have to.